What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We are here in the morning, breaking it all down for you. We got DC, we got Gary. We're going to go to Gary first. Gary, how is it going over there for you today? And are you ready for some day baseball?
Yeah, definitely ready. Always ready for some day baseball. Got the playbook up already before the show started. Some pretty questionable pitching options today, but we're going to talk through it and we're going to have another ship city like we did yesterday. Looking forward to it.
All right. Should be a good time talking some baseball. Let me go to my former friend, my former coach, DC. Unbelievable, DC. You turned your back on me yesterday on the premium show. I feel like I'm in like the WWE. You hit me with a steel chair. Very hurtful. And I'm going to tell you one thing, DC. I hit at the simulator yesterday for 3 hours and I found some good stuff there. So if you want to get back on, I'll give you a one-time chance to jump back on the Mangone train. But if not, hey, you can go the other way. And if I take your money, it's on you.
Listen, man, I lost sleep. I felt so bad last night jumping on JSU over Mangone and the golf streets. 3 hours on the simulator. Are you like Andy Bernard in The Office? Your like hands are all blistered. Remember, I don't know if any Office fans probably remember that episode where he like hits a million golf balls before the corporate golf outing. So yeah, hopefully your hands are doing all right. Glad to see you're practicing. And listen, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this one. You know, no bets have been placed quite yet. We both are out here in Colorado. Maybe we'll hit the course together sometime this summer, and I'll check out Mangone's game. So listen, I was up early. I couldn't sleep, felt bad betraying my former friend, and maybe I'll come to my senses and get back on the right side of this one.
Well, two of my friends from home, I've known them like since basically preschool. They're out here, and we need a foursome, DC. So we might need another person to jump in, and we can play some golf, and you can see how we do. And maybe you'll be back on the right side. But had a good time last night. Felt like I did well. I got to watch the Avalanche game too in Denver, so everyone was going nuts. So it was good to see them get the win. I know Big T was out on Twitter posting Colorado Avalanche bets for the Stanley Cup. He played some Showdown as well. I mean, Big T is out there crushing it. Put some bets too as well on the NBA draft. So hey, head over to his Twitter. Also head over to Run Pure Bets and check out on our YouTube channel. We got a nice free NBA draft preview for the people. So be sure to check that out. Also, please hit that like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it a ton over here at Run Pure Sports. And of course, we want to get out those plays of the day, and lock is in like an hour and 5 minutes. So I love to keep talking and chatting, but we kind of got to dive in. That way we can kind of give you the winners, get our content up and finished. But I don't know why my camera just disappeared. So I'm back. I don't know why it keeps disappearing on me. I'll have to check what the reason is after the show. But DC, let's talk about pitching because it's not great today. And I want to go to you first just because I saw you talk about Braxton Garrett in the chat. And he was someone I was considering. I saw there's other people here at Run Pure Sports that are interested in him. I'm more interested in Kyle Freeland. So talking about these pitchers, though, I just put them all together, right? You don't have to tell me the guy at the top, the guy at the bottom. I feel like they're all in the same range. Like Clayton Kershaw, you can spend on him if you want to today, but today it's just a really, really rough slate for pitching where I think anything can go.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that last statement. It's one of those slates where when every pitching play kind of sucks, it's like all the pitchers are sort of in play. You know what I mean? So I'm playing 20 lineups as I have been this last week, and I'm going to mix it around at pitching more so than I normally do. I mean, oftentimes on a 6-game slate, I have no problem locking in two guys in all 20 lineups if there's two guys that I think are, the best plays, whether that's from a price perspective, from a raw projection standpoint, or, even from an ownership projection, sometimes you're willing to take a stand on a guy. I don't really see that on this slate. Braxton Garrett, as you mentioned, he will be my highest owned pitcher today. He's in the cores. Miami lefty rookie, who does have some intriguing stuff. Particularly his slider, I think, can be a really good out pitch for him. I've seen it graded really high. A pitching analyst that I really trust, Eno Saris, not a DFS guy, but just more of kind of a general baseball guy, has his slider graded out as one of the best sliders in baseball, just in terms of like the movement and the velocity, that kind of thing. So that's a pitcher that I'm, willing to take a shot on. Again, a slider is a pitch that gets strikeouts, and I don't think we're going to see huge scores from pitchers today. Garrett, also the cheapest pitcher on the board, 5,400 on DraftKings. Again, not like a full confidence play here, but I'm not afraid of Colorado on the road, especially in a pitcher's ballpark like Miami. So yeah, I think Garrett's got a good shot to give you 15 plus fantasy points. On this slate at 5,400, if you get 15 out of Braxton Garrett, that's going to be a big win, I think. So he is the guy I'm rolling the most with. And then from there, mixing in Kyle Wright. I was kind of a little bit lukewarm on him coming into the slate early this morning. But San Francisco rolled out pretty much the worst lineup that they could roll out, which means the best lineup, I guess, is the better way to put it. The best possible matchup for Wright. No Brandon Crawford swinging from the left side, no Brandon Belt swinging from the left side, and just a pretty weak lineup in general. Kyle Wright is someone that I do believe in. He's had a little bit of scuffles recently, but a very good pitcher. So I like that Garrett-Wright combination. I think Kershaw is probably the safest pitcher on the board, but he's also the most expensive. I think he's going to be chalk. And just the upside is just not really there for him. I mean, they're super, super careful with this pitch count. Obviously, the Dodgers have, grander ambitions than a Thursday afternoon game in Cincinnati. So you're going to see him probably right around 80 pitches. And he's not a huge strikeout guy upside anyway. So I just don't know if Kershaw's quite worth it. It's like one bad inning, 1 2-run home run, and Kershaw is just upside just completely gone. So I'm not super excited about him. Again, I will mix him in. 2 more guys that I'll talk about. Justin Steele, Chicago Cubs pitcher. Again, not a pitcher that I really like in general, but he gets to face the Pirates. He's cheap. He can give you 90 to 100 pitches. That has some appeal on the slate. And then the drop him on the table play today. And again, a guy that I will have exposure to is Hunter Green for the Cincinnati Reds. This is one where I kind of like both sides of it. You're going to see a lot of people on the Dodgers. I'll have a fair amount of Dodgers myself. But Hunter Green, for those that aren't aware, one of the most electric arms in all of baseball, 98, 99, 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. Had a really rough start to the season, but has been much better recently. And all you have to do is look at Hunter Green, a few games ago. We don't want to be game log watchers here, but he can get it done against anybody. I mean, back on June 1st, went into Boston, struck out 8 Red Sox in 3 2/3 innings, followed that up with the 8 strikeout, 7-inning, 1-hit game against the Diamondbacks, a 40-point game. When you have the type of stuff that Green has, particularly a fastball like he has, you can beat anybody if you're on your day. You can throw that fastball past any hitter in baseball, and that includes this Dodgers team. So it's a risky play, and he could get absolutely nuked. There's no question about it. But he's going to be – I put him at 5% ownership in my player pool, which is up on the site for members. And I do think he has the most strikeout upside of anybody on the slate. I really do think that. And so for a super low-owned guy, I'll be taking a fair amount of shot on Hunter Green. You got to be willing to accept that those lineups might turn to dust, but hey, that's, GPP life for you. That's baseball for you. That can happen to anybody. So you can't be afraid to lose. And Hunter Green, he's a big winner if he pitches like he can based on, the ownership. Nobody's going to go there with Kyle Wright and Kershaw sitting in that price range as well. He's obviously way overpriced at 9,600, but on this slate, that's almost part of his appeal because there's just not any good pitchers. And so a big performance is going to get you to the top of the pitcher pool, and Green's capable of it. So kind of a long rant on pitchers there, but to recap, Braxton Garrett, my number 1 owned guy. And then beyond that, paying up mostly for the top 3 price guys. Kyle Wright, my favorite. I'll mix in some Kershaw and quite a bit of Hunter Green as well.
Well, there's a lot of leverage opportunity with Green, right? Just because if for some reason, Hunter Green does have a good game, then that's what happens? The Dodgers bats probably do pretty poorly. So, and
you're going right to the top at that point, right? Because all those Dodgers teams are going down. A lot of people are going to have at least a Dodger or 2 in their lineup. And then, you have a low-owned pitcher who, if he does well, it's going to be a lot of strikeouts, right? That's just the only way he can really succeed. And so you just put it all together, and it does seem like a pretty good tournament play to me today.
Yeah, definitely like it. So I like the takes that you had on Garrett. I do want to talk about Kyle Freeland specifically. And the reason why I want to talk about Kyle Freeland is he's definitely interesting on this slate, mainly because one, the pitching's really bad. Two, he hasn't been awful this year. The strikeouts aren't really there, but here's the key of why I'm okay with the strikeouts not being there. His strikeout rate on this season, let me pull it up right now because I had it earlier. It's really low, right? 16%, nothing great. But if you look at Miami, what is their strikeout rate? The actual players in the lineup, it's low. It's at 30%. I mean, I'm sorry, it's high. So This is a spot where you have a lot of guys that just swing and miss in general, right? It's a good matchup for Kyle Freeland. It's in a good ballpark for him as well. I think the double pairing, like Chris is asking in chat, can we pair Freeland and Garrett and pay up for sticks? Well, when I kind of ran some teams, right, I just kind of took, projections and went and just ran everything. One combo that popped up to start was going Braxton Garrett and like Jose Quintana. Like that was a route that popped up a ton. I saw Jose Quintana and Justin Steele, right? Like that route works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let other people go Jose Quintana, who is currently one of the best like value pitchers on this slate. And then I'm going to go like Garrett instead, right? I'm going to go Freeland and just, I think they're not that much of a difference at the pitcher position where Jose Quintana could easily get beat up, or he could easily just go for like 9 DK points. If he goes for 9 and Freeland goes for 8, it's not a big deal, right? I don't think there's going to be a huge separation at the pitcher position today where I'd rather play lower owned pitchers and take my chances. Gary, what is your thought on pitcher? Are you just slamming Kershaw in? Do you have confidence in him? Do you like the green take, or are you going down for some cheaper options and jamming in your bats?
Yeah, I can just never really get on board with Clayton Kershaw as the highest priced guy, the highest owned guy, and he probably has the shortest leash of everybody on the slate. So I'm probably not going to do that. I'm not going to have any Kershaw in my lineups. I do like the Hunter Green call here for reasons that y'all already mentioned here. Like DC said, he could go out here and strike out 10 and break the slate at 5% ownership. Definitely like that a ton. Kyle Wright's my guy though today. Just like DC said, I don't want to repeat the wheel here, but they rolled out a really, really good lineup for him here. He's been really good against right-handed bats. Love him a ton. I am conflicted a little bit. I talked to DC about it earlier, but Alex Wood at 9K. I normally wouldn't consider it, but man, the Braves lineup is just really bad today. No Acuna, no Riley, no Duvall.
Ozzy Albies obviously hurt.
Yeah, Ozzy Albies is hurt. Like 9K. I don't hate him here. 11% ownership is what I'm seeing on him here. I do like him. I know the weather is pristine for hitting in Atlanta today, but like we saw last night, it's the same environment that we saw last night. I loaded up on the Braves and they didn't do anything, and it was a pitcher's duel on both sides in the same conditions. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wright and Wood were the two highest scoring pitchers on this slate. And I don't think you're going to see that pairing in tournaments really at all. But I do like Braxton Garrett. Braxton Garrett's in my core. I just like some bats today and that he affords me the opportunity to get up to. And I do like Kyle Freeland too, because I was talking to DC earlier. Kyle Freeland was my guy over Garrett, but the 1400 got me an extra bat that I like. But yeah, I definitely like Kyle Freeland here. I don't really understand the projection on Quintana here. I get it's the Cubs, but man, Quintana is the highest projected guy on the slate. Like I can't do that. 32% ownership is what I'm seeing. No, thank you. So I'm going to be heavy on Kyle Wright for the most part. He's my number one guy. I got Braxton Garrett in my core, so he's going to be my number 2 guy. And then I would say my number 3 guy would be Alex Wood.
Yeah, I think obviously the Alex Wood, the Kyle Wright takes definitely, I think they're pretty interesting here. DC, any rebuttal to Gary for some of the thoughts that he had at the pitching position?
No, not really. I mean, I'm fine with Alex Wood. I am going to mix him in a little bit as well, just because that Braves lineup is pretty weak. He's a good pitcher, right? And we know obviously the weather is great to hit in Atlanta, but that's kind of all these games have good hitting conditions. So you can it's not as big a deal to be pitching in great hitting conditions today, because that's every pitcher. So yeah, I think Wright or Wood rather, Alex Wood is fine. I mean, so is Quintana, but I'm not going to play Jose Quintana if he's going to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. That's just a hard pass for me. So I won't be playing him. I actually kind of like some of these Cubs bats, to be honest. They were really, really good to us last night. Ian Happ. I'll go back to the well on that one. Christopher Morel leading off. I think he's a pretty good play. I think Wilson Contreras is one of the best, maybe the best catcher play on this slate. So that's the top three guys in Chicago that I could make a case for all three of those guys being excellent individual plays. You're pretty cheap. Well, not Contreras, but I mean, you can certainly afford anybody today, right? If there's bats you want, you can absolutely get them in your lineup, especially if you're on Braxton Garrett. So yeah, if Quintana really is going to be that highly owned, and looks like he probably will be, usually the ownership projections are at least close enough. Give me some Cubs bats for leverage. You can get like the Cubs bats as leverage against I think a bad pitcher and Quintana, and you can do the other leverage on the other side and play a Hunter Green if you want to. So there are definitely opportunities to get different on this slate. And I do think it's a good slate to get different, because this slate could go any which way, right? There's no offense on this slate that would truly shock me if they were the highest scoring team. Maybe the Reds. I don't see the Reds doing it. But other than that, I think it could be really any team that goes off today. So I don't really want to be riding the chalk. I don't have a problem with it. Like a couple of days ago, when we saw Burns and McClanahan and Garrett Cole, to me, that was a day where you play the chalk. Those guys are going to be popular, and you just say, I'll try to get different elsewhere, and I'll play those 30 to 50% owned pitchers. Today's not a slate when I want to do that. I want to be different today as much as I can.
No, I agree with you. I think it's smart to be different. The one spot I don't think I'm going to be different, though, I think I'm getting my bats, right? Like I'm getting my Dodgers. I'm just playing them. That's at least for me. Unless you're playing like a Green, I understand that for the leverage. But I'm going to get different in other spots. I'm going to get different with my pitcher. I'm perfectly okay with that. The only argument you can make is like sometimes when you try to get different with your pitcher, like what's the gap that can separate you, right? Like for instance, at third base, if you play Rafael Devers, he can get a 0 and then Arenado could get 44. And like, you could really spread the gap there. Can that happen at pitcher? How much can you pull away? So that's like an argument that you can make where maybe getting different at the bats is more worth it, right? Like for instance, sometimes just watch your leaderboard on DraftKings. Like I pulled up my leaderboard and I was like, why did I just shoot all the way down on like some of my teams? I had exposure to the Cubs, but I didn't have a bunch of 5-mans. I had more 3-man stacks. And when they put up 7 runs, that's what happens, right? Because they were the chalk. So you can kind of see that you can get like destroyed by like an Ian Happ home run. I had him on one of my teams, but it was just with a Jordan Montgomery. So it wasn't as great, obviously. So sometimes you obviously have to decide where are you going to fade that chalk? And that is one argument you can make. If you fade the Dodgers today and they just get straight 0s, right? And they're absolutely awful, those teams are going to sink to the bottom of the leaderboard, but it is a really good spot. You just have to decide when you're kind of playing MLB, where are you going to make your pivots? You do want to play some chalk in spots, but you do want to get different in other spots to gain some leverage on the field. Let's go over and talk about the bats now. Before we do that, guys, please hit the like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. I just became like number 68. Someone just became like number 69. So we know that's good mojo to hit that number there. The people love that one. And we want to get it home to about what number, DC? We've got 265 watching. We'll probably get a couple more in here. We'll probably have 300 or more. Do we want to get to 150 for the people?
150 seems like a good number. I like it.
All right, 150 likes it is. We got 6 games to break down, and we will talk about some offenses here. And of course, because we don't like the pitching, there's going to be a lot of offense to talk about. We got an 8.5 total between the Rockies and the Marlins. This game is in Miami. Not a great park for hitters, but maybe you guys are interested in getting different here at the hitter position. Gary, what are you doing here with this game? For me, this is kind of a fade. You could make an argument like Garrett against like CJ Cron. CJ Cron could be an interesting one-off option that could easily take him yard. You can always make the case for Jazz. He's always pretty good. Soler against the lefty doesn't seem bad. What are you doing here, Gary, with this position?
Yeah, I mean, I like both pitchers here. I'm seeing a little bit of ownership on the Miami side here, specifically Garrett Cooper, Jorge Soler. I just like, I'm going to target these offenses that are not in a pitcher's park here. I'm going to play the guys in the heat, in the wind, and stay away from this game. So no bats for me. I'm going to full fade it. What about you, DC?
Yeah, I don't know. Travis.
Gary, you're supposed to stall, okay? You were supposed to stall as I fix my camera, but it's okay. We're back. I heard you as I'm trying to find out which chord it is and trying to fix it, but I'll just save it for the end of the show. It just must be a loose chord. DC, Colorado, and the Marlins. This is a game I don't think I really want to play. What about you? Are we just moving on to the next one?
Nah, 20 lineups, no hitters from this game for me. Obviously on Braxton Garrett, I think Freeland is a fine play if you want to go that direction. Too many good spots today for me to waste my spots on this, just by far the worst offensive environment on the slate. I think two of the worst offenses overall. Just don't really see a point to go to this game. So full fade for me.
All right, let's talk about this next game. Giants and the Braves. Obviously a game that, like, if you saw Wood and Wright on like a 13-game slate, you'd be like, I don't really want to pick on this game. Like, you would even make arguments. I don't even want to play like the bats too. You could kind of just cross it off and say, it'll probably be like a 5-3, 4-3 game. Nothing crazy is going to happen. But this is a 6-game slate. On top of that, you guys are Braves guys. So I'm going to leave the floor open for you guys to stroke the Braves. So let's start with Gary. Do the stroking that you'd like to the Braves. What are we doing here with this game?
Yeah, I'm only playing one lineup today, so I'm keeping it short and simple for today. I'm not going to have any Braves. This lineup is just too bad for me. But I'm seeing pretty low ownership on them considering the weather and the total. The guys that you would want to target here would be Dansby, Travis d'Arnaud, William Contreras, and even going down the order to the 8-9 guys, Heredia and Harris. Those are the guys that are hitting lefties the best right now. I'm not really thrilled with it, but I wouldn't hate you for it. Obviously, they didn't treat me well yesterday. I'm just going to stick with another couple offenses on the slate and fade the Braves here. And I won't have any San Francisco either. Wright's my highest. Well, even if I was playing 20 lineups today, I think I would probably close to lock Wright. So definitely no San Francisco for me.
All right, let's go over to UDC. Any Braves love? What are you doing here with them in this spot?
I'm mixing in a little bit of San Francisco and Atlanta, but not full stacking either of these teams. Just going for most of the platoon advantage guys. That's the lefties from San Francisco. That's Mike Yastrzemski and Jock Peterson in particular, I think are decent plays if you're not on Kyle Wright. Again, not core plays or anything like that for me, but I don't mind mixing in those power lefties because the ball will be absolutely flying in Atlanta. I mean, if you get it up in the air today, if you barrel one up, it's probably going out of the park. And those guys obviously have good power. So yeah, we saw, was it Yastrzemski, I think, that hit the bomb off Morton, second batter of the game yesterday, and absolutely nuked one. And Morton was fantastic yesterday. So we could see something similar where Wright could be the top scoring pitcher on the slate, but Jock and or Yastrzemski do a little bit of damage. So those are the two Giants that I like. And then the Braves, a short list. Dansby Swanson, I think, is a really good play. I've got a decent amount of him. Just absolutely smashes lefties, having a great year. Either catcher, d'Arnaud and William Contreras. I think both those guys are solid plays today as well. But so many bad pitchers on this slate that I have a hard time imagining that it's like Alex Wood that gets absolutely blown up. He just doesn't get blown up that often, right? That's kind of his biggest calling card, is he just limits damage, gets through 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs. It seems like he does that almost every start. And I think we'll see some big performances out of offenses today. I'll be surprised if it's the Braves that end up on the winner. So mixing in some Giants, some Braves, but pretty limited pool. Again, Jock Peterson, Mike Yastrzemski, Dansby Swanson, the Braves catchers. That's pretty much it from this game for me for bats.
Well, yeah, Alex Wood is a 55% ground ball rate, right? He's just a great ground ball pitcher. Yeah. And that's the key. I don't want to, you talked about Tristan McKenzie yesterday. The reason you wanted to attack him is he's a guy that's a fly ball guy. And we want to grab some home runs. And you definitely saw that yesterday with Carlos Correa hitting 2. You had Max Kepler hit 1. So definitely good points there. That's why I'm not attacking Alex Wood. And the more we talk about it, I'm kind of leaning Wood over Kershaw for sure. So I think it's a pretty good spot for him. I'm not playing any bats in this game for the most part. Maybe I'll play a Jock Peterson one-off against Kyle Wright, but I'm not dying to play these guys for sure in this spot. Let's move on over to the next game. We got the Dodgers and the Reds, and definitely not a bad game to go to, right? We obviously have to like the Dodgers because big bats in Cincinnati. Gary, I'll go over to you. Break it down for me. How are you handling this Dodgers lineup?
Yeah, again, so I'm playing one lineup. They're not going to make the cut for me on my main team, but definitely would have interest here. I'm seeing massive ownership on these guys. Muncy in particular, 40% ownership for Max Muncy. And I mean, I'm just looking through his game log here. And I mean, he's done really nothing to warrant 40% ownership on this slate. I do like Green quite a bit, but Freddie Freeman, I think, hit a bomb yesterday. He's been heating up a little bit for them. So definitely have interest in Freddie, Trey Turner, Will Smith, and maybe the bottom of the order guys in Gavin Lux and Cody Bellinger. And even if you want to pay all the way down at catcher for Austin Barnes, if you're paying up for both pitchers, he makes for a great salary option as well, salary saving option. So definitely I'm gonna stay away from Max Muncy. He just doesn't look right this year. I'm seeing massive 40% ownership on him. So not going to have him, but have a little bit of interest in the other guys.
I mean, those are great ways to get different with your lineups, right? Like, let's say you see that there's like a chalky option that you don't like in that main stack. We'll just fade him. And that's a way to make your team different. And naturally, because you do that, that is going to give you maybe a guy that's 5% owned throughout the lineup. So that's always worth looking at. The ownership matters for these main stacks for sure, and finding ways to make it different. DC, are you making your Dodger stack different? Or are you just kind of loading up on guys at the top? What are you doing here on this slate?
Yeah, the more I think about this slate in general, this Green versus the Dodgers matchup, it seems like you kind of want to be on one of the two sides of it, because Green is like a massive strikeout guy. And so, we talked kind of at length about him, about his route to the top. I think it's not that likely, but it is certainly possible. If you run the slate, if you run the Sims, you run this slate out 100 times, I think Green is on the winner more often than the ownership will project. That's kind of the point with Green. But if he's bad, it's probably going to be home runs. He gives up a ton of home runs. It's best home run ballpark in Major League Baseball in Cincinnati. It's hot, the wind's blowing out, and the Dodgers have power. So it's almost like, if Green doesn't get it done, if he doesn't strike these guys out, which honestly is probably the most likely outcome, it's probably going to be serious damage from these Dodgers bats via the long ball. So I probably have less Dodgers than I should, to be honest. I think the Muncy fade call is fine. I mean, obviously all these Dodgers I think are pretty decent plays, but you can definitely go to the bottom of the lineup. Gary mentioned Austin Barnes. I think he's a fun pivot. He's actually swinging a pretty good bat this year. And then Cody Bellinger, I think, is a really fun play, hitting eighth. But he's not the same player he used to be. His power is still there though. And in this ballpark, he could absolutely send a home run or two to the moon in Cincinnati. So I like going down maybe to the bottom of the Dodgers lineup to get a little bit different. Cody Bellinger in particular, I think looks like a fun play to me.
Yep, like the Cody Bellinger call. I definitely saw him on a team already that I was like, man, I like this team. It fit pretty good. So definitely interested in some Cody Bellinger. I am excited to kind of get to these next couple of games, because I think this is where a lot of the stacks and mini stacks are going to be won, trying to decipher these next 6 teams. So we got some good stuff coming up for you guys. Please hit that like, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton, guys. We appreciate it. Also, let me go through some of the schedules we have over here at Run Pure Sports for you guys. Obviously, you guys know this. We have all the sports over here for one price. So if you haven't signed up, go sign up now. You get to check out our PGA Round 2 Showdown content. That'll be tonight at 9 p.m. Also, we got we don't have the final countdown today. I was looking at the wrong date. So no final countdown show today. It's a really short slate, only 3 games. But we will be in the Discord chat providing you guys with that information. Then also we got an MMA show at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So you do not want to miss out on that. DC will be there. DC, while I got you here, why don't you tell people a little bit about what you guys are talking on the MMA show every single week?
Yeah, it's been fun. We do it every time the UFC has a card, which is most Saturdays. And so for non-pay-per-view cards, we do that show on Friday, as you mentioned, at 2 Eastern time, which will be tomorrow. As you said, me, Title, and Keg breaking down every fight, both from a betting perspective, which is our guy Keg, very, very profitable bettor, knows what he's talking about, and then Title, who's a great MMA analyst as well, breaking it down from the DFS perspective. So always a fun time. Usually goes 90 plus minutes on that show because it just takes time to talk about every fight. So looks like some really, really fun fights tomorrow, to be honest. And then the week after, next week, it'll be Saturday, monster pay-per-view card that we really like. So fun couple of weeks of MMA coming up. And join us tomorrow at 2 Eastern time. You can watch it on demand, obviously, as well. But should be a fun time, and I think it's going to be a good week for us. Usually is on that show. So yeah, join us tomorrow. Free show, 2 Eastern time.
Yep, we got 4:45. Also, the MLB Swing for the Fences show tomorrow. Then the final countdown, round 3, PJ Showdown at 9 p.m. And then Saturday, you got me and Glock doing the baseball slate. So we're doing that around 12 p.m., breaking it all down. And you got the round 4 showdown, obviously, and then, of course, every Sunday, 11 a.m., Swing for the Fences. And then on the Run Pure Bet side, you got a show right in between that and the NASCAR show, which starts at 1 p.m. So you guys do not want to miss out on all of that content over here at Run Pure Sports. But let's go over to this next game. I want to talk about it. Next one up, let's go to the Cubs and the Pirates. We got Quintana versus Steele, and we didn't talk that much about Steele, which I didn't mind him today. Not someone I'm dying to play, though, on this slate. And you could make the argument, maybe we load up on some Pirates, right? We get Castillo, Diego Castillo. We get him at the 3-hole. We get some pretty good options here. Brian Hayes in the 1-hole, not a bad spot at 4.1K. I mean, overall, I think this is a pretty good spot where we got O'Neal Cruz in the 7-hole. I mean, we have so many different guys that we can go to here. DC, do you have any interest in attacking Steele with some of these Pirates? Because we've seen them kind of hit some bats a little bit better as of late.
They're super, super cheap. You don't need the savings on this slate necessarily, but if you want to pay for 2 pitchers, right? If you want to take the 100 green train ride with me, and you want to get Kyle Wright, that's $9,600 pitcher, $9,900 pitcher. You can certainly use the savings. It's pretty good matchup against Justin Steele, who's certainly not anything special. And this lineup starting to improve a little bit. Obviously, the call up of O'Neal Cruz, big injection into that line. If he does have the lefty-lefty matchup, hitting 7th, his price is up a little bit, but still a fun play today. But yeah, the middle of the order here, I think, is interesting too. Brian Reynolds starting to turn it around. Even Brian Hayes leading off, I think, is fine. But then that 4th and 5th hitters, Michael Chavis, again, a guy who strikes out all the time, but he does have big power, and you can certainly get one. He's 2,900 at first base. And then Jack Suwinski, kind of out of nowhere, having a fantastic rookie season. What's he up to? Like 12 or 13 home runs. Been on fire recently. He's 2,600 in the outfield in a good matchup. So yeah, absolutely. You can go to the Pirates bats here. Those Chavis and Suwinski in the middle of the order, I think, are my favorites. And we kind of talked about the Cubs earlier. Quintana, we think he's going to be one of the more popular pitchers on this slate. I know he's been good recently. I just have a hard time buying into that fact. I think, he'll come back to earth sooner rather than later. This Cubs team is playing pretty well right now. Horrible bullpen behind Quintana for the Pirates. And yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these Cubs lineups. I mean, I can make a case for almost everybody in their lineup, frankly. Morel, Contreras, Happ, Patrick Wisdom has power from the right side in cleanup. Yan Gomes, a cheap catcher, 2,700. We know he hits lefties well historically. Even VR and Nico Herner and PJ Higgins is a $2,300 catcher if you need the savings. So I think there's a lot of decent plays in this game. I mean, that's a little bit of a theme of this show, and that's what's going to happen, right? When there's a lot of bad pitchers going, it means a lot of offenses are in play. And I think that includes, frankly, most of the guys on both these teams. I do like the Cubs side better myself, especially with the extra leverage, because we know Quintana is going to be higher owned. And I think the Cubs guys are generally a little bit better hitters, just kind of skill wise. So yeah, I'm on both sides of this game, but particularly the Cubs side, kind of growing on me more and more as we talk through the slate and finalizing my lineups.
All right, how about you, Gary? Are you interested in these Cubs and Pirates? What are you doing here with this game?
Yeah, definitely more interest in the Cubs side here, just like DC said. I mean, Steele's getting 50. He's got one of the highest ground ball rates on the slate as well. Typically don't like to go there. But yeah, definitely like the Cubs side here. I mean, Wilson Contreras' numbers versus lefties this season, just ridiculous. I mean, 519 ISO, 508 WOBA. Probably the best catcher option on the slate here. Ian Happ, was the hero for DC and RPS yesterday. 3,500. Definitely like him. I think Wisdom is a little bit sneaky here as well. He's got a 242 ISO, 375 WOBA versus lefties this year. So definitely have a lot more interest here in the Cubs side. And I don't have any interest in Pittsburgh.
All right, let's move on over to the next game. I want to talk about the Guardians and the Twins. I really like this spot for these two offenses. DC, I'm not normally on the Twins. I said it on the premium show, but yesterday was the day. We were arm in arm. It was good. And then you stabbed me in the back and made fun of me on the show. So that was very hurtful. But hopefully you and I can be arm in arm on the Twins again today and get the job done. DC, sounds like you want some rebuttal, and then talk about the Twins and the Guardians.
I didn't make fun of you. I just thought JC was going to beat you at golf.
DC, you were laughing. I have a video clip. I clipped it. I saw you laughing.
I wasn't laughing at you. I was just laughing at the situation. Two different things there. So I do need to point that out. But we are arm in arm here on the Twins. Two bad pitchers here. I mean, Zach Plesac just getting murdered by lefties. This is a multi-year thing for him. What was the final score of that game? 11-10 yesterday, Cleveland and in Minnesota. These bullpens are worn out as well. So these are two bad starting pitchers, Zach Plesac and Devin Smeltzer. I do think you want the platoon advantage for the most part when you're going up against both these guys. So lefties for the Twins, righties for the Indians. But in particular, the Twins bullpen is gassed right now. And they're in the middle of, I think, like 20 games in a row. They've got 13 games in a row coming up after this one. A bunch of their best, they have a pretty bad bullpen in general, but even a bunch of their best relievers, they're not going to want to use them today. Twins manager generally is pretty cautious with the arms, and he doesn't want to run those guys out there. So I think both managers, but especially the Twin side of it, I think they might ask Devin Smeltzer to kind of, take one for the team here. And even if he's getting bombed, just stay out there and just try to give us some innings. So you could see a lot of offense in this game from both sides. I like the Twin side a little bit better just because I like their hitters more overall. I just think they're a better offense. You just see that reflected in the total to some degree, 5.3 for the Twins, 4.7 for the Guardians. But yeah, give me all these Twins lefties, Arise, Kepler, Kirilloff. Can certainly mix in Correa, who hit 2 home runs yesterday. Gary Sanchez, fine play. Trevor Larnach's got power down in the 7 hole. So these are two offenses where you can certainly go to most of the lineup. For the most part, I'll be avoiding the bottom of the Indians lineup, that Ernie Clement, Luke Malley, and Miles Straw, 7, 8, 9. I don't have interest there, but the top of the lineup, certainly Owen Miller, Rosario, Jose Ramirez. I think you could make a case as being the top overall hitter on this slate. Oscar Gonzalez, good hitting rookie. Franmil Reyes, who was just horrendous to start this year, got sent down to the minor leagues, I believe, where it seems like he probably found his swing, which isn't surprising. He's got a track record of hitting for a lot of power. Gets a bad lefty here. He's 2,800. I think one of the better point per dollar values for a hitter on this slate. So I'm on both sides of this game. I have more Twins than Indians, but I do have a lot of both sides for sure.
Yeah, DC, one argument that you could make here, if you want, Gary, I think brought up a good point. If you want to fade Max Muncy, Luis Arise, I know you like him a lot, right? Obviously, you just play him at second and then put him within the Dodger stack as one of the 2-man or the 1 off, or even just as one of the random 1-offs, and could be a really sharp move. What's your thoughts there on Luis Arise here in this spot?
Yeah, it hurt my feelings a little bit yesterday with the offer on a 11. If you would have told me the Twins are going to score 10 runs, I would have been pretty sure Luis Arise was going to get a couple hits at least. But yeah, I've been talking about him. I've been riding the Arise train recently. Started to hit for more power. Was he still hitting 360 on the year? I think that's going to be a thing. I think he is definitely going to lead the league in batting average. And when the weather kind of turns in Minnesota like this, he's got a better chance to do some damage via the home run. So yeah, I love a Luis Arise. Kind of looks over, a little bit of sticker shock on him, right? 5,200 for what is frankly still mostly a singles hitter. So, but the matchup is just so good here. Love Arise, Kepler, and Kirilloff. Definitely my 3 favorite Twins.
You said Arise, Kirilloff, and who was the other one? Kepler?
Max Kepler, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, good stuff there, DC. Gary, obviously I want to ask you the same question. Obviously Muncie's a guy you're kind of looking to fade. What do you think here with, what's his name? Luis Ariz. Would you rather play him over Muncie? Yes, you could throw Muncie at third base if you'd like, but is that a way you're going to make your lineups different? How are you making these Twins work within your lineups and the Guardians?
Yeah, definitely love Ariz here. He's in both my lineups on FanDuel and on DraftKings. Love this lineup, really top to bottom for the Twins. Not really, except for maybe Jose Miranda and Nick Gordon down at the bottom. But they're going to be low owned too. So, I mean, don't hate you mixing in there. I'm not going to do it. Just prefer the top 7 here. I really like Carlos Correa in this spot. He's been hitting really well lately. I'm going to prefer him over the likes of like Dansby Swanson today. So yeah, the Twins are definitely my favorite stack on the slate. And I'm going to run it back with some Guardians here on this slate as well. Like DC said, Jose Ramirez, probably the top bat on the slate. I'm not seeing any kind of ridiculous ownership on him here in this spot either, which is also great to see. Franmil Reyes, 2,800. Oscar Gonzalez, this is a guy that we've been on pretty much the whole year. He's still priced cheap, 3,400. He just keeps putting up numbers. You got home runs in 2 out of the last 3 games. Like him a lot here as well. So I'm going to have a lot of exposure in this game in my lineups today. Top 2 offenses for me.
Yep, definitely really like this spot. I'll be getting exposure to it for sure. Definitely think it's a good one. I want to get you guys' take on this next game though. And we need like 24 more likes to give out those plays of the day. We'll give out the stacks, then we'll give out the plays if we get it home. But we got to talk about this Cardinals and Brewers game. It's got a 9 total between 2 guys that are good ground ball pitchers. So I'm not saying I like the under, but like I'm a little worried about getting some DFS points here today. Like I wasn't as worried against McKenzie and playing the Twins because I knew there was a fly ball guy. I'm kind of concerned. Maybe this is like a 5-3 game or like 4-3, but I don't know if you're going to get a lot of DFS points. That's my concern, DC. What are you doing here with St. Louis, though? Because they've been a hot offense, and we know the Brewers, they can get going at any time, too. What are you doing here with this game?
Yeah, not really going with full stacks here. Kind of, some of the reasons you mentioned, 2 guys that get a lot of ground balls, but not a lot of strikeouts. These are 2 of the lowest strikeout pitchers in all of Major League Baseball among starting pitchers. And if you're not striking anybody out, things can go south in a hurry, right? Like you just get a couple of ground balls that find some holes, you walk a guy, and all of a sudden you're on the rope. So that could happen to either Dakota Hudson or Jason Alexander. Obviously, we know a little bit more about Hudson's style of pitching. He's been, I guess the term I would use is just like getting away with it. But he's almost as many walks as strikeouts. I'm never going to roster a pitcher like that. I think this game will go a little bit overlooked, though. I do like the left-handed bats for the Brewers a little bit. I think you can mix in Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, maybe a Jace Peterson if you want to. Not my favorite plays, but certainly decent enough plays. And then on the Cardinals side, I'm not super high on them overall in this slate, but they do have 2 plays that I think are very strong. One, obviously, Paul Goldschmidt. Can play him against anybody. You do prefer him against lefties, and you don't like the ground ball tendencies that Alexander has, but that you could make the argument that's overthinking it a little bit, right? It's Paul Goldschmidt, who's just red hot against honestly a pretty bad pitcher, and Jason Alexander, a career journeyman. He's 29 years old, doesn't strike anybody out. Yeah, I'll take my shot on what I think will be a fairly low owned Goldschmidt at that point. And then my guy, Nolan Gorman, who had the double down a couple days ago, I think he could be a very, very sneaky play here. I made the point a couple days ago, and I believe it. I think Nolan Gorman's going to be a hitter. He's got a ton of power, also a ton of swing and miss. He strikes out a lot. I think he's going to feast on bad pitching and get owned by good pitching. And this looks like a good matchup to me. His big issue is going to be the strikeouts for sure. That's not really a problem here. I mean, Alexander, it's a small sample size, but a K per 9 of 3 so far in his brief time in the major league. That's 45 batters, and he struck out a grand total of 3 of them against lefties. 3 out of 45. So you're telling me Nolan Gorman is going to make contact in Miller Park? I'll take my chances that contact's heading over the fence. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him do some damage. So mostly limiting my exposure to the Cardinals to Gorman, especially, and some Goldschmidt. And then some of those Brewers lefties, I think, are pretty decent plays as well.
All right. I think that's some pretty good takes from you there, DC. Gary, how about you? Are you attacking this 9 total, or are you staying away from it?
I don't think I don't think I'm gonna play any Brewers here in this spot. Let's see, Narvaez. I'd prefer if Narvaez was in the lineup. He's not in there today. Not a deal breaker, but just prefer other spots here. No Milwaukee. And I'm on the same page with DC on Nolan Gorman. He's my favorite guy on the St. Louis side. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt. Not full stack in these teams, but probably just Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman for me in this game.
All right. That will wrap it up for that game. We're going to go on over to the stacks. We need 11 more likes. I believe that people can get it home. We got 310 watching, like we said we would. So let's get those likes home, 11 more. And then we got to talk about these stacks, and then we'll give out those plays of the day. DC, let's go to you first. Maybe you got a pitch or two as well, but give me your stacks first, actually. Let's do the stacks. What do we got here, DC? Who are you stacking up here on this slate?
Yeah, I'm going you can make a case for a lot of teams. You don't want to list everybody, but truly, I think there's like 7 or 8 stacks that are more than reasonable today. But I did list the Twins as my favorite stack. I went with the Dodgers second. So the Twins lefties in particular, I talked about Kepler, Kirilloff, Luis Ariz, but you can certainly play the other guys as well. I think Trevor Larnach is sneaky down in the 7 hole. So Twins number 1, Dodgers are 2. You can certainly make a case for the Dodgers as being the top stack against Hunter Green, who does give up home runs. It is a great hitter's park. The Dodgers do have power and just have really good hitters in general. If you wanted to put the Dodgers over the Twins, I'd have no problem with that. Maybe my Twins homerism breaking the tie for me. Cleveland 3. So if you want to go with that game stack in Minnesota, I think the Twins and the Guardians both have a chance to do damage. I listed the Cubs as my 4th. I think they're the best leverage stack. I don't think they're going to be highly owned. We know people are going to be on Quintana, probably between 25 and 35% would be my guess for ownership on Quintana. You'll get the Cubs low owned, and I really like the top half of this lineup. Like Gary said, Wilson Contreras, I think, is the top catcher play, but like Morel, Happ, Wisdom, these guys all look like good values to me as well. So yeah, I do like the Cubs quite a bit in Pittsburgh. So that's Minnesota, Dodgers, Cleveland, and the Cubs.
All right. For me, I'm going to go Dodgers. I got their number 1. I'm going Minnesota 2 and then Cleveland 3. That's kind of my list. And I'm keeping it pretty tight here today. Gary, how about you? What are you doing here with this position or with the stacks?
Pretty much the same as you guys. I'm going to rank Minnesota 1, Cleveland 2, and the Cubs 3.
All right, cool. I was looking at the likes. We need 6 more to give out those plays. So here's what we'll do. We'll start giving those.
We're crawling there, man. We're crawling to those 150 likes, man. Come on, faith. People.
See, DC, unlike you, I have faith in the people.
I got faith.
You know what I mean? No faith in me, but I got faith in the people. They're going to get it home for us. It's going to be fine. I'm going to kick it off first, right? Then we're going to need Gary. And then if we don't have the 6 by then, you're not getting DC's play. Let me tell you, DC's been hot lately for sure. I had a good one yesterday. Arenado got the job done for me. So it was pretty good. I know you were very high on Ian Happ yesterday. So you're not getting DC's play if we don't get over to that 150 likes. But let me give out my play of the day first. And I'm going to take a Minnesota Twin. And I think Contreras is going to be popular against Quintana. I think Will Smith is going to be popular. Gary Sanchez could see lower ownership at the catcher position. Could be a nice guy in a 3-man stack on the Twins. Could be a nice 5-man option too as well. So give me Gary Sanchez. As Big T likes to call him, Gary the GOAT. He goes yard today. Let's go from one Gary to another. Gary, what is your play of the day?
So yeah, I'm going to stick in that same game. I know we love the lefties, but I think Carlos Correa might hit 2 today. I really like him in this spot. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling I have. So yeah, Carlos Correa.
All right, Carlos Correa. It is. Let's go over to UDC. The people got it home. They're at 160. Scott says we need the play of the day. So who do you got, DC?
Man, a lot of good choices today. A lot of good choices for play of the day, but can only choose one. I got to go with my man, Alex Kirilloff. Been on the premium show mostly, so people that are members at RPS have seen me talk about him. He's been pretty solid these last couple games. but I still think the big tear is coming for Alex Kirilloff. Was absolutely destroying AAA pitching before getting called up. He was dealing with that wrist injury early on in the season, seems to be fully healthy now. And I really think that a big run is coming for Alex Kirilloff. So 2,500 can play him at first base or outfield. I'm staying on that train until further notice. And certainly Zach Plesac is not going to get me off the Kirilloff train.
Yep. I think that's a good call there. I'm putting a team in right now that has Kirilloff. It's a nice little mini stack. So can't wait for that one, DC. Should be a good time, but we are going to wrap it up. We're going to get on out of here. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the morning show that we had. Little Mangone and two friends for you guys today. But for me, Mangone, Gary, and DC, we will see you guys later.